Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down.
Alright, here we are, folks.
Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in our eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up. Tonight, we gonna light it up. Tonight, we gonna light it up. Just like the sunrise, we gonna light it up.
Welcome back once again. This is Chris Report, and he assured me that since I'm in town in Boulders, folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa. Sunday, May 12th, 2024. Welcome back to the program, folks. You're listening to the Indaba Africa channel. Chris Wyatt Reports, your daily dose, your injection, your vax against fake news, propaganda, and biased reporting. Welcome back to the program. It is Sunday, May 12th, 2024. We are just days away from a momentous election in South Africa. How will it go? Well, lots to see, lots to talk about, lots to hear, folks. Last night, I published a video on the Democratic Alliance's big rally at Curry's Fountain in Durban within earshot of Wyatt Street. A story not covered by a single South African media outlet. Propaganda 24, IOL, Daily Maverick, Mail and Guardian, Times Live. Not a single one of those outlets had a story that I could find about the Democratic Alliance's massive rally in Durban. Mostly attended, overwhelmingly 97% of those people were black or colored, but almost all black, and not covered by the mainstream media. But Gayton McKenzie's Patriotic Alliance is getting lots of press coverage from the Daily Maverick, from Propaganda 24, and from a host of legacy news organizations in South Africa. You have to go to Twitter, the only place to find, or Chris Wyatt, the only place to find information about some of these events. Now, I did release a video on the Democratic Alliance last night, and I will release a video on the Patriotic Alliance's rally at Athlon as soon as I get a chance to do it. I have gotten the material necessary to make the video, and I will make that video and give you analysis on that. But the bottom line here is the legacy media are corrupt. They're part of the election process and influencing voters instead of simply reporting the news. Lots of things to take issue with the Democratic Alliance, but there's no reason whatsoever not to report on a massive story. The reason they haven't reported on the story for the Democratic Alliance is because we know. We know the reason why. Because it's the party of the whites. The whites. The whites. Yeah, not many white faces in that crowd. Oh, but all the leaders are white. Ah. No, that's not true. The big names, sure. But even when they had big name black leaders, nobody even cared about that. The legacy media found other reasons to take issue with the Democratic Alliance. This is not a pro-Democratic Alliance commentary. This is simply a statement of fact here. A party that's criticized for the wrong things. You want to criticize the Democratic Alliance? Let's talk about their chumminess with state-owned enterprises. Let's talk about their left-of-center political views and how they think. Let's talk about their pro-homosexuality position, which many people have significant issues with. Let's talk about any issue that's genuine, but let's not talk about the nonsense that this is a party of the whites and it is a party entrenched in apartheid when these people are the ones who actually fought against apartheid, unlike the ANC, which ran and hid in the bush and did virtually nothing to end apartheid. So there you have it, folks. There you have it. Anyway, let's go on and we'll talk about the news today. But that's my opening commentary. Let me say hi to everybody in the chat. It is a Sunday. Hopefully you're relaxing. A pretty decent day when it comes to rugby yesterday for South African sides, unless you are a Sharks fan. If you're a Sharks fan, you will be hiding your Sharks hats today. These will not feature prominently today. Wow. What an embarrassment. Look, I'm a huge fan of Werner Kok, but what an off day at the office for Werner Kok. Excuse me. The chair will not adjust, and I cannot move my leg. The hip is so badly injured. What a horrible day at the office for Werner Kok, who was terrible in the high ball, who threw the ball into touch to end the game when the Sharks had a chance to streak down the sideline. What a tough day for Werner Kok. It doesn't always go well, but the Sharks choke away a victory. I'd lose to Benetton, who was desperate to stay in the race for a playoff spot, and they do. No bonus point, but a victory, and 4 points keeps them in the running for a playoff spot. Meanwhile, the Lions did what they had to do in winning a game with a bonus point and putting themselves close to playoff contention, but not quite back into the mix. The Stormers on Friday did what they had to do despite playing atrociously against the Dragons in Newport, Wales for much of the game, but then suddenly waking up in the last 10 minutes and running away with the game, getting a bonus point victory, which was much needed. However, they have no prayer of catching anyone except perhaps the Bulls, but only if the Bulls stumble in the last 2 weeks. The Bulls are 6 points clear of them, and the Bulls screwed up royally. We're going to talk about that. And lots of news to get to. Not so much on the U.S. today, but some Africa news and lots of news on South Africa. So let's get into it. The focus with the election. Val Cooper here at the beginning. Pierre Orban. Fiona's here. Welcome, Fiona. Hope you're well. She's published the latest stories. Thank you for sharing that. And then James Bowie's here. George Steinberg. James. I already said James. Who else we got? Hester Kutz is here. Brian Lawrenson. Ken Aronson says, Chris, wasn't able to catch your cast live, but I think your analysis are spot on. Well, thank you for that, Ken. I presume you're talking about the one I did after midnight last night. Whew, it's a late night for me. We're doing production, and I'm getting rewarded for it modestly. Modest reward. Thank you to all the people who are showing up and finding the channel, those who've rediscovered my channel after it disappeared. It's one little shadow banning technique that YouTube doesn't tell people about, and most people don't realize, is on your For You page. If your subscribed channels are never promoted to you, people tend to forget about things. You know, if they're not focused on it, they got other things going on in their life. And that's what happened to a lot of my subscribers, is that my videos were no longer promoted on your For You page. No one ever saw my videos, and they had to remember to go find me. And only a small number of people actually do that. And I'm not criticizing them. I'm the same way. I couldn't tell you all the channels I'm subscribed to, but if they don't show up on my channel, then I don't go looking for them. The exception being channels like, of course, Ronaldo, because I work with that channel. So I go looking for Ronaldo, even though it doesn't show up on my page when it's being shadow banned. But anyway, enough of that nonsense. But we have a modest bit of growth today. This week, it's been lovely, and thank you all for that. We finally crossed that 15,000 threshold, which took a long time to get there. Over 3 years when we did it in just less than 4 months previously. But we're getting some good traction on videos. I had 3 videos in a row that all exceeded 1,000 views, and that may not sound impressive, but given the track record that we've had under the suppressive nature of this authoritarian regime known as YouTube, that's actually pretty good. And it includes also the BEE shakedown video I did about Shell. Interesting on that video, it did very well for one day, getting 6,500 views, and I thought it died. And slowly, over the next 4 days, it built up to about 9,000. But suddenly, in the last 2 days, it went to 10, and then in the last day, it's got 14,000 more views. Not 14, excuse me, 4,000 more views. Not sure what that's all about, but that is adding subscribers to the channel. We're grateful for that. This is how videos used to be, with thousands of hours of viewed content, hundreds of subscribers, although that's not the case. It's more like 820 hours viewed, 79 subscribers, but even a little bit of revenue. But that video is still, it's pulling in people, and it has been pulling in people since 1 a.m. this morning. I don't know what's going on. Every hour since 1 a.m. this morning, he's had nearly 300 views per hour, which is great. 10 hours, that's 3,000 views. So we're doing well with that video, but it's not alone. People are looking at other content as a consequence of it. The DA flag burning video now has 1,500 views. It's slowed down a little bit, but it's still going. And the Democratic Alliance rally, which at Curry's, which I did yesterday, that one's at 1,300. It had a peak this morning at about 165. So anyway, not the best performance, but hey, much better than we had in the recent past. So who else got? Richard Lemmert's here. Welcome to you. Ulrich Fenter. Garrett Gillich is in from Somerset West. Sue Walsh, welcome to you. Pierre Orban says, props to you showing the DA rally. Well, it's my pleasure, Pierre, and I'll also show the PA rally. Yep, and I'll comment on other ones. Matt Canale's here. Matt, how did you do? Hey, listen, brother. All 8 URC games I called correctly, and I got 3 or 4 bonus points, I think. Maybe it's just 3, but I got every single URC match correct. Oh, that's pretty rare. But only moved up 2 spaces, 2 positions in the log on Super Brew. That's kind of disappointing after I'd fallen so far from the top position down to about 10th because of my election campaign and not focusing on Super Brew. But yeah, when I put my mind to it, look at that. 100%. I've had 288% calls this year, and now 100%. Yeah, and every week I've had at least except for 2 weeks, I've had 75% correct picks, yet found myself in, 8th place or 6th place. Pretty disappointing. In Major League Rugby, screwed by a lot of 1-point games, and I lost badly there. So, Joe Neiman's back. Hey, Joe, how's it going? And then, what else? Patrick says the Colonel's off the hook. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yeah, well, more people need to learn about being off the hook and about the content, and hopefully we will keep going. But we have had some modest growth. As I said, let me go back a few days. Just a few days ago, on May 7th, so not even a week ago, 5 days ago, we were at 14,947. So now we're 150 more subscribers ahead of that. May not sound like much, but that's more growth than we've had in 2 months. In just 5 days, 150. So slow, but we're getting there. 6-6, yellow hat for sure. Yep, cool beans, Matt. Cool beans. Yep. Well, I was 8 for 8 in the Super Brew for URC. So waiting to see what's going on there. Another crappy day. It's been, 1, 2, 3, 4 days of crappy days for solar power here with the clouds having moved in. It's not very good. Did get managed to get the back lawn mowed yesterday, but man, I hurt my hip again. That really sucked. That truly, truly sucked. Hey, what do we got? We got 44 people currently here. There were 46 a moment ago. Where'd those 2 people go? Shame on you for leaving. All right, folks, let's get to the news. You're here for the news and to chat. A miracle rescue takes place in George in the Western Cape. I keep wanting to say the Eastern Cape. In the Western Cape, a miracle rescue after 100+ hours. This gentleman pulled from the debris. Shocking. As the rescue and recovery efforts entered day 7 at 75 Victoria Street in George, operations continued with new vigor after a successful rescue of Mr. Gabriel Gwambe, who was rescued yesterday morning. But the death toll now stands at 17. As of noon today, which was 6 hours ago, the 141st hour of operations, confirmed statistics were a total of 81 people were on site during the incident, 45 of whom have been rescued, 17 have deceased, and 14 are currently in the hospital. That means 31 who were rescued are out of the hospital. That's incredible. 35 people are unaccounted for, and that does not bode well unless they happen to have had some water on them or near a water source buried under that rubble. The other concern to be worried about here, folks, is people buried under rubble. We have crush syndrome. Those in emergency services in the medical field know what I'm talking about. Crush syndrome is really not good. People can die as a consequence of taking that pressure off of them. So I'm glad my son is alive. Miracle on day 5 of George disaster rescue. Sniffer dogs find a survivor under rubble of collapsed building, but hopes for the 35 remaining missing are dim. And there he is, Gabriel Gwambe. At 3 p.m. on Saturday, 39 people had been unaccounted for, but we now know that's down to 35. Disaster Management Chief Colin Diener said a sniffer dog led rescuers to Gwambe, a tiller. He had been trapped in a confined space without food or water. He was quite alert and was sounding okay, told us that he had some weight on his legs. We were very scared if we released him too quickly, so we had 2 surgeons come in. Rescue personnel and volunteers cheered and clapped as he was driven by ambulance to hospital, the sound of heavy excavation machinery in the background. This is absolutely exciting, incredible. I'm glad that he survived that horrific collapse. 1 suspect is dead. 10 arrested as police in Gauteng crackdown on road spikers. About damn time. According to SAPS, another suspect was charged with the police and was shot and killed. Incident took place yesterday following information police received on the whereabouts of suspects responsible for a road spike on the N1, the N4, and the R80. The suspects were wanted in connection with various robberies. 5 of the suspects will be charged with a number of counts of rape and armed robbery, while the woman will be charged with contravening the Immigration Act and operating an illegal shebeen. Police seized a replica firearm and alcohol. Now, this is a story I've told you about that's been going on for years, where people put spikes or cinder blocks out on the road, on the R80 in particular, to immobilize people at night. Then they rape men and women and rob them. And it is sick and twisted, but it's been going on for years, and finally they get their act together. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you know that things are bad. You know that things are bad when the leftist Guardian runs a story not complimentary of your socialist paradise. What am I talking about? Well, I am referring to the Guardian running a story about South Africa and how the ANC is not the answer. Simon Tisdale runs this story, actually published in the Guardian. Shock, shock, shock. Says the ANC has left South Africa a land of broken dreams. Its time seems over. Who will save South Africa from itself? Not the ruling African National Congress, whose 30 unbroken years of underachievement have brought the country to its present sorry pass. Not reformist President Cyril Ramaphosa, widely considered a disappointment, and not Russia or China, either to which Pretoria's flailing regime, increasingly at odds with the West, looks for succor. This guy is stealing my lines. Is he stealing my lines? That's almost a verbatim quote of what I said. I've said on this program. That's almost verbatim. Who's listening to my content and stealing it? 3 decades after Nelson Mandela's historic poll victory formally vanquished apartheid, and less than 3 weeks before another watershed election, it's all going wrong for the Rainbow Nation. Africa's most developed country is now its most unequal, the World Bank says. Crime is rampant, corruption endemic, growth is tanking, more than 60% live in poverty, unemployment among black folks is 40%. Voters face a choice on May 29th between a discredited, tarnished ANC, which is predicted to lose its parliamentary majority for the first time, and a broad array of disunited opposition parties. The same pivotal choice faces other would-be 21st century powers, countries such as Nigeria, Brazil, Mexico, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Indonesia. Well, the statistical story is an index of broken dreams. Reporting in 2022, the World Bank identified race, apartheid's legacy, and unequal land ownership as ongoing core problems. Even now, 30 years on, about 10% of the 60 million population controls 80% of the wealth. Ramaphosa attempts to level the playing field frequently misfire. He says about 25% of farmland is now owned by black South Africans. But critics argue the land redistribution program has sharply reduced productivity and employment. And they are correct, which is what I've been pointing out forever. Thabo Mbeki says that the ANC is losing voters not because of tribal lines, but because the ANC has failed them. Former president visits the Heroes Acre Cemetery in Mbali while campaigning in KZN. Former ANC President Thabo Mbeki says it's not true that KZN voters vote along tribal lines. Instead, voters have been punished in the ANC for its failing to keep promises to the electorate. I don't think it has got to do anything with who leads the ANC. It has got to do with the performance of the ANC itself. I think the people are responding to that, and that's why I'm insisting on this thing that I can't just go to the population and say vote ANC and stop there. I must say vote ANC, but I must add that the ANC, I'm saying you must vote ANC that must be able to discharge its response to those people. Well, Thabo Mbeki are becoming senile. That means nothing. That says nothing. That's just gobbledygook. The African National Congress and the EFF are embroiled in an imbroglio in Gauteng. Yeah, in Tshwane, in Pretoria, where the EFF is accusing the ANC of doing exactly what someone did to me during my election campaign, stealing campaign signs. That's right. The ANC in Tshwane has rejected claims that its members in Atteridgeville were caught removing EFF election campaign posters. Regional Party Secretary George Matija hit out at the EFF regional chairperson Obakeng Ramabodu for reportedly implicating that 2 people arrested in connection with posters removal were ANC members. In a media statement, Matjila slated Ramabodu for making unfounded allegations to the media that 2 members of ANC were apprehended by EFF local structures in Atteridge for removing EFF election posters. Well, they're eating each other alive. I love it. The ANC, the EFF, MK eating each other alive. It couldn't go better. Meanwhile, Gate McKenzie and the Patriotic Alliance get glowing, fabulous, fawning press coverage in Propaganda 24 and in the Daily Maverick, which claims to defend the truth. As parties gear up for votes in the run-up to the general elections, the Patriotic Alliance turned historic Athlone Stadium bright green in a victory rally where the party reiterated its approaches to religion, the death penalty, and Jocelyn Smith. Wow, campaigning on a girl who's been probably chopped up for Moody is really a twisted sort of way to run a campaign. Patriotic Alliance President Gate McKenzie had the Athlone Stadium roaring with support as he spoke during the party's victory rally on Saturday. Yep, he's a candidate for president of the Western Cape Premier. Now, the party got 6,660 votes in the 2019 national elections, which represents 0.04% of the total vote. But they're looking to cement themselves as the government in waiting. Yes, PA considers itself the government in waiting through an outright majority or a coalition. Okay. The party supporters gathered at the stadium in Cape Town. Early in the morning, you hear McKenzie speak. The reformed criminal turned businessman and politician has been garnering support across the country. Gospel artists performed as thousands filled the stadium. Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. So some lovely pictures of Gate McKenzie just really enjoying the adoration. Spoke for under 50 minutes, repeated several points in the party's manifesto. South Africa needs God, the reintroduction of prayers in schools and workplaces, sending young people for military service. returning the death penalty for murder, and if the party's in power on June 1st, all illegal foreigners must go. Well, if he's going to do that, then I'll welcome him to the United States. It's time to get rid of 40 million criminals in our country. The Electoral Court, according to Justice Thrawn, nullified the Constitutional Court's contempt ruling. And she can't sit with that. Despite the fact that she disagreed with the contempt charge for Jacob Zuma, she has a problem with the Electoral Court undermining the higher court. Justice Liana Thrawn, who dissented with the Constitutional Court's decision to jail Jacob Zuma for contempt, says she's not sure she can live with an Electoral Court ruling that nullified a judgment by finding the former president was not actually sentenced. The effect of the decision in the Electoral Court is basically to nullify a decision of this court, and even though I may not agree with the contempt judgment, I'm not sure that a consequence that nullifies a decision in this court is something I can live with, she told Dali Mpofu. And she's correct. The Electoral Court cannot nullify the highest court in the land. Therefore, they must declare him ineligible. Well, the wheels have come off, ladies and gentlemen. The ANC's much vaunted and ballyhooed and promoted campaign to bring buses to black South Africans has been nothing but a heist, a money theft. Sunday Times reports that the wheels come off the government's 77 billion rand transport program. Political instability in municipalities and misuse of funds blame for failures. 16 years and 55 billion rand later, the government's much vaunted revolutionary bus rapid transit system is going nowhere. The project, championed by government since 2005, was meant to provide a majority of South Africans with efficient, affordable, safe, and reliable public transport. Efficient, affordable, safe, and reliable public transport. Do you mean Uber? Donkey carts. That's right. That's right. Oh, my goodness. But it's emerged in municipalities that receive billions to implement at least 3 have been kicked off the 77 billion program due to poor performance, with most having little to show for it amid mismanagement. At least 780 million rand was spent on consultants in Bloemfontein, in Ombombela, and in Mzunduzi in KZN with no results. 780 million rand given to BEE consultants, most likely. Just stole it, gone, left naked. Wow. Since 2008, 77 billion has been allocated to the program, and of that, 55 billion has been spent. Yet most South Africans still rely on combis to get from one place to another. Yeah, well, there you have it. And this is the party that wants you to vote for them. People, just tell South Africans this. What more do they need to know? Even if they're not corrupt, even if the ANC is not racist, if they're not race hustlers, if they don't steal, let's pretend all of that's true. They're clearly incompetent. 2005, it's 2025 in a few months, and they've spent 55 billion rand. And there's no transport. There's nothing, which means they stole it. That's what it means. That's what it equates to. They stole us 55 billion rand. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put that in dollar terms. That's $2,890 million. How many abolition units in the Eastern Cape would that have taken care of? All of them. How many schools without proper security would that take care of? All of them. How many buses for kids to go to school? All of them. $2.89 billion looted, wasted, gone, and nothing is there. Nothing is there. This is the most corrupt, venal, race-hustling government in the world and needs to be exposed. And any moron that votes for the ANC on May 29th is part of the problem. Part of the problem. Hey, speaking of being part of the problem, Farrell Haffajee writes a story about Julius Malema, calling him Mr. Congeniality. Now, to be fair, I'm not attacking Farrell Haffajee. She does some good reporting, but this is a bit of a puff piece because she says that he's maturing and he's not making own goals, which is true. Despite that, the EFF is collapsing because of MK and IFP. Julius Malema calms down and puckers up to kiss frogs in his ultimate quest for the presidency. The maturing but no less ambitious EFF leader is running an excellent political campaign, according to Farrell Haffajee, even as polls suggest that support is falling. However, it's clear that Malema wants to be head of state, and at 43, he has time to make the medium-term goal. He's emerged as one of the stronger contenders on the election campaign trail, cutting a figure more considered and less fury-filled than in previous campaigns. His lavishly funded campaign also means the party runs the town's best poster and outdoor advertising game. EFF posters and massive billboards outstrip the ANC by an order of magnitude. But what is the change in Malema that is most apparent? We are going to kiss a lot of frogs along the way. We are patient. The ANC is not a small organization. You have to eat it bit by bit. South Africa's most extensive pre-election poll for the defunct Change Starts Now movement showed that he is liked and feared in almost equal measure. EFF support has plateaued because South Africans are middle-of-the-road voters, sensible, and even they have never turned to the extreme right or left in any significant electoral trend line. And that's the Ipsos poll from April, which shows ANC at 40%, the D at 22%, EFF at 11.5%, MK at 8.4%, and so on down the list. Well, there you go. So, Daily Maverick, that's a pretty good story, actually. The Independent Electoral Commission has no powers to disqualify Zuma as election candidate, says Dalian Pofu. And I disagree with that, but I agree with that conclusion. The IEC did not disqualify Jacob Zuma. The Constitution disqualified Jacob Zuma. It was the National Assembly that had the right to debate the eligibility of members. The Electoral Commission had no authority to disqualify MK leader Zuma from the ballots, according to Dalian Pofu, the clown car that pretends to be an attorney. The Apex Court heard the application by the IEC to appeal against the Electoral Court's ruling. Yes. Arguing for Zuma, Pofu said that it was not the IEC to decide, but the National Assembly to debate in line with provisions in the Constitution. No, it's not. It is not. It is not. The National Assembly is based on voters, not on the rule of law, based on party membership and party lines, not on the rule of law. You cannot have the legislative body adjudicate law. That is the role of the courts. Yep. So it's not the IEC that made him ineligible. It is the Constitution. Well, I did a piece which is out now. I probably didn't have a chance to watch it. It went live just moments before this live news broadcast, but feel free to watch it after the stream, folks. And for those tuning in because of it, thank you for joining us and hopefully becoming subscribers. But this is comical. City Press, owned by Propaganda 24, says the government has failed to protect BE partners from abuse. This story for rich, elite, privileged patronage puppies from the ANC tells a tale of woe, in which, there's Salem's Cave just described. Thank you for that, Salem. Tells a tale of woe in which poor, connected, privileged, elite black South Africans are being taken advantage of by international firms who've been shaken down for shares of their equity. Yeah, that's right. Forced to give part of their company, either away for free or for a song, to people based on skin pigmentation and proximity to political power. These evildoers are striking back and cutting these BE partners out. They, of course, have the audacity to call these BE partners entrepreneurs. They're not entrepreneurs. They're parasites. They're parasites. They're not entrepreneurs. What are they creating? Nothing but holding companies. Total nonsense. Total nonsense. Martin Joubert just subscribed. Well, thank you for that, Martin. Appreciate your subscription. Now, honestly here, this is just ridiculous. They interview a few people for this story, and they claim that they're being taken advantage of. Well, I don't care if you're being taken advantage of when you were illicitly, illegitimately, immorally handed equity in a company that you didn't work for, you didn't earn. No empathy from me whatsoever. What 5 years has elapsed? Oh, yeah, Gabe McKenzie's 5-year conviction is long gone. He can run for office. That's correct. Yeah, that's what the Constitution says, 5 years. If you have a sentence of 12 months or longer, you are barred from serving in Parliament for 5 years. Well, Shell will, in fact, apparently exit the downstream portion of its business. Several potential buyers are seen as starting to line up to buy that. Yep. Shell has appointed PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, to conduct due diligence and prepare financial reports on its plans to exit the downstream business. Business Times says that Shell is assessing potential bidders for the downstream business, including Trafigura, the world's second largest oil and gas trader. That's a company that owns Puma, which owns all the petrol stations that used to belong to BP in Botswana, Puma Energy, the British oil company Prax, and state-owned oil and gas company Petro SA, as well as Sasol, and Saudi Aramco, another state-owned company. So they're looking at acquiring all these stations for parastatals, competing with the open marketplace. That is not a good outcome. And the South African Competition Council should become engaged in that to stop that. Well, I agree, Arctic. If you are a felon, you should be barred from voting and holding office into perpetuity. I agree. Well, Eskom sets the record straight. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not because they're burning diesel at record amounts. It's not because of that. No. In the midst of an election just days away, 17 days away to be exact, in the midst of an election 17 days away, Eskom says it's not the turbines. No. It's the energy availability factor. Last month, the Independent Online reported Eskom had spent billions burning diesel in the past 5 years, responding to a written parliamentary question from DA member Farat Essak. Minister of Public Enterprises Pravin Gordhan said during the 2019-2020 year, Eskom had spent 5.8. Then they spent 5.76. But we have seen a massive spike in what's going on. But Eskom's Daphne Mokoena disputed media reports. She said that the reason for 40 consecutive days of no load shedding has to do with the fact that they have reduced outages by 4.4 gigawatts since April 26. And given Eskom's track record for maintenance, how soon before 7 gigawatts are offline? Well, switching our attention to rugby, ladies and gentlemen, the Stormers on Friday were lackluster, lackadaisical, mistake-prone, and not even remotely impressive for 70 minutes. But then suddenly a spark was lit with substitutions off the bench. It wasn't pretty, but the Stormers won the first game of their two-leg Overseas United Rugby Championship tour in Newport, Wales, when they beat a plucky Dragon side 44-21 to keep their playoff hopes alive. They go to 10-6 on the log now, but that is only fifth place, which means they're on the road for a playoff game. And at the moment, that would be against the Bulls at Loftus. The Bulls made life difficult for themselves, roaring to a huge lead, a 27-point lead, and then just squandering it with abysmal defense. It was almost as if they were working for the Hollywood bookmakers to ensure that the margin was correct. Bulls make life difficult for themselves in a deceptively tight victory over Glasgow. Hardcore supporters could, with some justification, claim the Bulls' 40-34 triumph over Glasgow represented a hackneyed statement victory with the URC playoff shakeup looming. I disagree. If anything, Franco Smith's Warriors admittedly and credibly showed the spirit that's guided them to the summit of the URC points table shouldn't have come with this close, as they were overpowered for majority of the contest. But they closed the gap, scoring 3 tries in the last 10 minutes against a Bulls team that started to phone it in after they had a 27-point lead. And as a consequence, Glasgow gets 2 bonus points. If you win the game, you get 4 points. But in a loss, they got 2 bonus points. They got a bonus point for 4 tries, and they got a bonus point for winning or for finishing in less than 7 points. 7-point difference. It was only 6, so they get another bonus point, extending their lead to 60 and preventing Leinster from regaining the lead. Murray Coster's costly red card sinks the Sharks, as well as Werner Koch's off day. Murray Coster's 75th minute red card proved to be crucial to the Sharks' 25-24 loss to Benetton at Kings Park. The Sharks were leading 24-18 in the 75th minute when he was sent off for a head clash with Benetton's center, Tommaso Mencello. It was the 12th defeat of the season for the Sharks, but they will be playing in the Challenge Cup finals here in a few weeks. The Scrappy Lions managed to keep their slim playoff hopes alive in Johannesburg, defeating Cardiff. And the bone crusher Willem Alberts was decisive in this game. Playing against a side that had not won a game since Boxing Day, the Lions almost fell to the complacency of a first half in which they were in control. Leading 17-3, they wound up squeaking out a 2013 lead with just 20 minutes left in the game, but they managed to pull this one off. Well, they've killed the game. World Rugby is slammed for its unhealthy obsession with rule changes, constantly changing the rules, and this one in particular, eliminating the ability to call a scrum, has really pissed fans off, especially Springbok fans, as it's meant to undermine the Springboks. World Rugby's decision to remove the scrum option from free kicks has been met with widespread criticism as fans slam the governing body's move. On Thursday, World Rugby confirmed a host of fan-focused law changes that will come into effect from July 1st. The 2 new law amendments, in addition to the scrum removal, encompasses a revision to offside from kicks in open play, aka the DuPont law. However, it's the removal of the scrum option from free kicks that's causing the most uproar, sparking a heated backlash among rugby enthusiasts. Indeed, because that's what Damien Willemse did during the World Cup. And that was decisive as the Springboks won a scrum penalty and made all the difference in that game. The Islamic State, or the so-called Islamic State, a bunch of criminal bandits who pretend to be Islamist, is surging once again in Mozambique. Islamic State-linked insurgents attacked the town of Macomia in the Cabo Delgado province. Violence is the latest in a string of attacks since December. It signals an escalation in unrest just as the Mozambican government is pushing for Total Energies to resume development of a $20 billion liquefied natural gas project that has been shut down for a few years since insurgents really took control of events there. Chad deploys forces in post-election violence. Combat-ready troops are rolling in the streets of Chad. Chad says it deployed combat-ready troops to stop armed attacks and maintain peace as the death toll increased to 12 people in post-election violence on Saturday. Chad's police say that 3 injured victims died in 2 hospitals in N'Djamena on Friday night, and 30 other civilians were injured in confrontations and shootings, and they were rushed to hospitals. The last place I want to go in a hospital is in Chad. Well, Tunisian attorneys and activists have been arrested by the corrupt government of Kais Saied. Masked police are filmed storming the premises of the Bar Association lawyer's house to arrest lawyer Sonia Dahmani. Masked Tunisian police arrest prominent lawyer. A prominent Tunisian lawyer and 2 journalists have been arrested in the latest move of a presidential administration that's shown little tolerance for criticism. The arrest of lawyer and commentator Sonia Dahmani Saturday night was caught on camera as she was bundled out of the lawyer's house, part of a legal union where she's been sheltering. The same evening, TV and radio presenter Borin Bazas and political commentator Mongore Zigidi were arrested for comments about the administration before being held under a 48-hour detention warrant and will have to appear before an examining magistrate. Dahmani was arrested after she refused to respond to a summons issued on Thursday for questioning. The summons was reportedly regarding comments she made on a television program on Wednesday. What kind of extraordinary country are we talking about? The one that half its youth want to leave, she remarked, indicated Tunisia was not an attractive country to settle, given the plummeting standard of living. The AFP reported that many viewers found her comment degrading to Tunisia's image, and the summons to appear before an investigating judge was issued. Well, I've lived in Tunisia, and your post-Ben Ali country is an embarrassment, and nobody wants to live there. Grow up. Afghan officials put the death toll at 315 from flooding. Flash floods Friday in the northern Baghlan province. At least 315 people dead, 1,600 people injured. United Nations World Food Program said on Twitter that most of the affected areas are inaccessible by trucks. It's using every alternative, including donkeys, to get... Hey, it's using the ANC bus transport system, donkeys. Yep. The International Organization of Migration supported the losses reported by Afghan Taliban authorities, saying the death tolls exceeded 300, expected to rise. More than 2,000 homes were destroyed. You can see some of the horrific situations there. People living in floodplains and wondering why their lives are destroyed. My goodness. The boy looks on next standing next to a wheelbarrow in the aftermath of the floods. Humanitarian aid is flowing into Afghanistan to help victims. In Rafah, Israel begins a push for a knockout blow. The military is fighting Hamas on multiple fronts in Gaza, including areas where the group had once been defeated. Tel Aviv troops pressed further into Rafah today, but also engaged in fierce fighting in previously cleared areas around Gaza City, showing the difficulty of winning a decisive victory over Hamas as a guerrilla force. More than 300 Palestinians have fled Rafah as the Israeli military expands what it calls a targeted operation in Gaza's Strip's border city with Egypt. The worsening humanitarian situation has the world's attention. Anti-immigration protests bring central Dublin to a halt. And let me show you fake news. Euronews, reporting on this story, Euronews says that hundreds of protesters marched through Dublin Centre holding signs against immigration into Ireland. They were met with a small counter-protest with police officers blocking 2 groups as they exchanged chants. The march, which began after 2:30, was comprised of protesters wearing Irish flags and chanting "Our Streets." The demonstration took 45 minutes to pass through the streets of the Irish capital. So it took 45 minutes for hundreds of protesters. Hundreds. 45 minutes. Do you know how long 45 minutes is? Hundreds of people to pass by. I have been marching in events that have thousands of people in it, and it doesn't take 45 minutes to go through there. This is what we call fake news. Fake news. Yeah. So why are the Irish up in arms? Well, gee, I wonder why. Immigration in Ireland has more than doubled over the last 20 years, and 22% of the population now made up of non-citizens, foreign nationals. Irish government's unwavering commitment to housing and feeding an unprecedented influx of migrants in the wake of severe housing and cost of living crisis has brought the Irish electorate to a boiling point. Hundreds of protests and towns have sprung up around the country, with people calling on the government to end what they say is an open borders globalist agenda that's putting the need of immigrants ahead of its citizens, many of whom are struggling to pay for everyday items and unable to buy, rent, or rent homes as Ireland's homeless numbers skyrockets. Several high-profile crimes linked to migrants have also driven fear into native citizenry, culminating in the shocking knife attacks on young children and their teacher by an Algerian-born Irish citizen in November that triggered rioting and looting the nation's capital. Ireland is a tinderbox at the moment. Said Irish journalist Fatima, Irish, gunning. At this point, I don't think anything would surprise me. On Monday, thousands of protesters carrying Irish flags rallied in Dublin, calling for an end to mass migration, demanding that new nationalist government take its place. See, that's honest news reporting. Thousands of demonstrators, not hundreds. Euronews lies. They're fraud. Chance of get them out. Irish lives matter and under siege invasion. Wow. Ireland is blowing up. Well, Joe Biden's threat with weapons in Israel presents legal challenge. This is a story in the Washington Post, but it's not the threat you think it is. So Biden's weapons sales to Israel breach legal limits, former officials say. While the administration expressed alarm over civilian casualties, former officials say to sidestep laws governing foreign arms transfers. What the Washington Post is trying to do is saying that Biden is breaking the law by providing arms transfers to Israel, when in fact, and you haven't heard this anywhere, I've waited days for someone to say this. I've held my fire. I've held my power. And I will do a video on this as soon as I have an opportunity, but I'm quite busy at the moment. The Biden regime, Joe Biden, is doing exactly what leftist demon rats in Congress claimed that Donald Trump did with Ukraine. Remember the phone call? And remember the claim that Donald Trump prevented Javelin missiles from getting to pre-conflict Ukraine? The Democrats breathlessly tried to impeach Donald Trump for not providing Javelin missiles to Ukraine. Number one, that was a blatant, bold-faced, total fabrication lie. Number two, it shows wholesale ignorance of how U.S. arms transfers are done. Having been involved in that business for decades, I can tell you exactly how it's done. The Arms Export Control Act. And it also shows you just how fraudulent Washington, D.C. is. Number one, Donald Trump was in fact impeached, but illegitimately. An impeachment is a political trial in the Senate to remove an official who could not otherwise be removed from office. Donald Trump was not the president of the United States when this fraudulent, fake impeachment occurred. Donald Trump is not subject to the Senate's decisions as a private citizen. Yet they pulled this crap off anyway to try to destroy Donald Trump, and he's more popular than ever. Today, he's more popular than ever. 80,000 people showed up at an event in New Jersey. New Jersey. Leftist New Jersey. 80,000 people showed up at a Trump event yesterday. Wow. Everything they do backfires. So Joe Biden has actually done what they accused Donald Trump of doing. They accused Donald Trump of threatening to withhold javelins from Ukraine. Bear in mind that Joe Biden was the vice president of the corrupt Obama administration, which actually refused to give offensive weapons to Ukraine during the 2014 occupation and annexation of the Crimea and invasion of the Donbass by the Russian Federation. Barack Obama, despite begging and pleading from Ukrainian authorities, refused to give them any offensive weapons because he's a wuss and a coward and a New World Order stooge. While Trump was president, Congress passed legislation. He signed it into law, which required the U.S. government to give offensive weapons to Ukraine. And we did that, including Javelin sales. However, the leftists lied about Donald Trump late in the year, in July, claiming that he was holding up arms shipments. Now, here's the problem with that story. The Defense Authorization Act and the authorities given under it, such as 1206, 1207, 1208, and 333 programs, train and equip programs, require that that money be spent, at least at the time, within 12 months during the fiscal year. So you can send things through the year or you can send it all by September 30th. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be delivered by September 30th. In July, they claimed that he had stopped shipments. He simply asked a question. No shipments were stopped. All javelins were delivered on order, on time, by 30 September, as required by federal law under the National Defense Authorization Act. Yet they used that for a fraudulent impeachment effort. Joe Biden has just violated federal law. The Defense Act forces Biden to give ammunition, to give bombs, to give missiles to Israel, to sell them to them. And he has arbitrarily, unilaterally decided, I'm not going to do that. Articles of impeachment should have been drafted over the weekend for the removal of this corrupt individual sitting in Washington, D.C., who flouts the Constitution, who flouts federal law, who is a rogue, out of control, lawless New World Order stooge, Joseph Robinette Biden. But nothing will happen, of course, because the leftists control the world and there are different rules for them. Well, Donald Trump, thankfully, has killed any idiotic talk of Nikki Haley as his running mate. Whoever thought that this woman would be a good running mate for Donald Trump was drinking Kool-Aid. Former President Trump scratched at least one name off his sprawling list of potential running mates. Former Governor Nikki Haley, who was the last Republican presidential candidate standing in the way of the ex-president's push to retake the White House, was reportedly being considered by Trump as a vice president. But Trump swiftly shut the door on the idea. Nikki Haley is not under consideration for the VP slot, but I wish her well, says Donald John Trump. Yep, the pair have a frosty relationship because of her shameful attacks and her lie. She's a bold-faced liar. I will never run against my boss. Her boss was Donald Trump when he foolishly appointed her ambassador to the United Nations, which she resigned from once she had it on her CV. And then she did run against Trump because she's a typical politician who just lies. Katie Britt proposes federal database to collect data on pregnant people. Excuse me? What are pregnant people? The Guardian misuses, and tortures the English language. There's no such thing as pregnant people. Only genetic females become pregnant in our species. Katie Britt, Republican U.S. Senator from Alabama, best known for her State of the Union response, says that she's got a piece of legislation called More Opportunities for Moms to Succeed. Moms is the bill. It proposes to establish an online government database called pregnancy.gov, listing resources related to pregnancy, including information about adoption agencies and pregnancy care providers, but no abortion-related services. The bill specifically forbids any entity that performs, induces, refers for, or counsels in favor of abortions from being listed in the database. So, the website would direct users to enter their personal data and contact information. And although Britt's communications director said the site would not collect data on pregnant people, oh, they are just demonic. Well, no wonder America is falling. No wonder our American epic is coming to an end because we have traitors amongst us. A Marine pilot spent 6 years in China training the communist pilots to kill others. Former U.S. Marine pilot arrested in Australia working with Chinese hacker, according to his lawyer. Former U.S. Marine pilot fighting extradition from Australia on U.S. charges of training Chinese military pilots to land on aircraft carriers unknowingly worked with a Chinese hacker, according to his lawyer. Daniel Dugan, a 55-year-old naturalized Australian citizen, feared requests by Western intelligence agencies for sensitive information were putting his family at risk. The lawyer's filing supports Reuters reporting linking Dugan to convicted Chinese defense hacker Su Bin. Dugan denies the allegations that he broke U.S. arms control laws. He has been in an Australian maximum security prison since 2022. Arrest after returning home 6 years after working in Beijing. U.S. authorities found correspondence with Dugan on electronic devices seized from Su Bin. The case will be heard in Sydney later this month on whether to extradite him to the U.S. 2 years after his arrest, at a time when Britain was warning its former military pilots not to work for China. Su Bin was arrested in Canada in 2014, pled guilty in 2016 to theft of U.S. military aircraft designs by hacking major U.S. defense contractors. He's listed among 7 co-conspirators with Dugan in the extradition request. Dugan knew Su Bin as an employment broker for Chinese state aviation company. Although Su Bin may have had improper connection to Chinese agents, this was unknown to our client. Yes, but your client was training Chinese military pilots to land on aircraft carriers in violation of U.S. law. So we are being betrayed from within, not just by politicians like Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas and Pete Buttigieg and that clown car show, but by former military officers. Betrayal. Well, there's not enough power for the leftist ambitions for the cloud. Yep, America will not have energy as a consequence of shutting down coal-fired power plants and the explosion of internet-related crypto mining and cloud services. There's not enough power for America's high-tech ambitions. This is amazing. In a country that has more than enough electricity, suddenly we are going to be South Africa. Georgia is a magnet for data centers and other cutting-edge industries, but vast electricity demands are clashing with newcomers' green energy goals. Bill Thompson needs power fast. The problem is that many other business people racing into Georgia do as well. Thompson heads marketing and product management at DC Blocks, which in recent years built a string of data centers across the fast-growing Southeast. The company more recently set its sights in Atlanta, the would-be capital of the region, joining a slew of tech and industrial firms piling into the states. Vying for a piece of one of America's hottest markets, those businesses tend to have two things in common. They represent the U.S. economy increasingly driven by advanced manufacturing, cloud computing, and artificial intelligence. And they promise to hoover up huge amounts of electricity. Wow. So this is a major problem. Yep. There is the DC Blocks project in Douglas County, west of Atlanta. Similar quandaries are rippling through other hubs of the new American economy, with utilities in Tennessee and the Carolinas forecasting their own unexpected surges in load growth. U.S. power usage is projected to expand 4.7% annually for the next 5 years. The previous estimate was 2.6%. Wow. Now, electricity demand had been flat for the past 15 years, and now it's growing arithmetically, if not exponentially. But we're shutting down power plants all over the country. Crazy. So, not a good outlook as the greenies shut things down. Massive solar storm, which affected our broadcast yesterday, and people getting a lot of buffering. Solar storm hits the earth, producing colorful light across the northern hemisphere. Here are the northern lights over a farmhouse in Brunswick, Maine, 2 nights ago. An unusually strong solar storm hitting Earth produced stunning displays of color in the skies across the northern hemisphere early Saturday, with no immediate reports of disruptions to power and communications in the U.S., but it certainly affected communications in South Africa. That's for darn sure. And there's the news, folks. How are we all doing out there? All right, there's the news. All right. So, what do we got here in the chat? Go back to this. All right. I got there. Okay. Green Phantom's here. Brian Lawrenson, James Bowie. Becky, usual nonsensical crap. Yep. Commies always eat their own, says John Huchin. That's true. Emil Ferret says, the gangster in chief. Yes, Beckett Chile. I got pictures of him at the disaster site. Oh, my goodness. He's wearing the cat in the hat is wearing a different hat, a construction hat today. Garrett says the DA's on a roll thanks to Chris Pappas and the cancer tanking due to Cirque du Soleil and Putty Nose stepping in. Gate McKenzie says, what I want to hear, but will me do what I want him to do? Probably. Will he do what he wants? No, he probably won't do what you want. Donkey carts, yep. What else we got here? Hafaji is one of those idiot reporters who call themselves journalists. I'm not going to disagree with that. Like I said earlier, I think she's all right, but I was being generous. Some people don't understand the Constitution. That's true, Ken. Malema will be the best president and Polis more president. Paul Storm says, I'm considering taking alternatives to the ANC, the ballot box. Then I'm running my stopwatch and voting for the party as indicated by the last digit, according to some numeration. The Pollsmore Alliance. That's funny. Dumbass Daphne. There you go. Working for the bookies feels right. That's funny. It's an Australian thing. They are trying to turn union into league and try to get fans back. Oh, they're ruining it. They're ruining the game. They're ruining the game. All right. You guys are talking to each other, so I'm not going to cover that. Hey, Myra, how's it going? Welcome to the program. Thanks for being here. By the way, as I said, we've had some modest growth on the channel. That's pretty cool. Now we're up to almost 15,100 subscribers, just 3 subscribers away. If you're watching right now and you're not a subscriber, hey, this is free, man. This doesn't cost you anything. Why don't you become a subscriber and join us right here on Chris Wyatt Africa? We are thrilled to finally get back to a level that took us just 4 months to get to. It took 38 months this time, but hey, overcoming suppression isn't the easiest thing. So we've got a number of videos out there, and there's still the BE shakedown video is still doing well. It's had a surge today, 14,139. Let me reload that and see if that's where it's still at. I think that's old data there. Come on. Yeah, 14,000. There we go. It's now 14,416. And actually, it's getting better. This hour, it's had 336 views compared to 298 the previous hour. That's pretty awesome. 6,147 views in the last 48 hours. Almost all of that's come in the last 24. So that's some good news. That video is starting to get some attention. Good to see that. 94 comments. Almost everyone's liked it. Got how many dislikes? 4 dislikes. And so we've also got the video on that wall collapsing, got 1,500. I was surprised by that. Democratic Alliance win. That one's at 1179. Let's see if that's still accurate. No, that's now at 1,300. That's starting to take off as well. The DA rally in Durban, objective reporting. And then we've also got the DA flag burning one. That one, see how that's doing. 1,600 views on that. And just 1 subscriber. But it's did well last night when it came out, dipped down this, but it's picked up this past hour. So that's some good news. Hopefully they'll keep doing it. But it's just exciting to see. So I have had at least 307. Here's how the day has gone. Now, don't get too excited. I used to have 15,000 views in like 10 minutes when I did videos back in the day. But the way things have gone on this newer channel, it's been challenging. But let's take a look at starting at midnight. I had 428 views, which is pretty darn good for midnight, but then I did it live after that. At 1 a.m., 755 views. 2 a.m., 812 views. 3 a.m., 703 views. 4 a.m., 734 views. 5 a.m., 763 views. 6 a.m., 685. 7, 730. 8, 665. 9, 694. 10 o'clock, 662. 11 o'clock, 547, and 12 o'clock, 914. Those are some really respectable numbers given how things have gone, and that's turning into subscribers and content viewed and a little bit of ad revenue coming in too, so thank you all for that. Mike says, U.S. energy idiocracy. Yes, we will be South Africa with permanent load shedding the way we're going here. I am glad I got solar panels before I needed them. I will take a look after my finances settle down, courtesy of all the money I lost because of my election campaign. After my finances settle down and my trip to South Africa and UK, I will take a look at upgrading my solar to add more panels out of pocket and consider battery storage because, man, oh man, we are not going to have electricity at some point. I'm going to have to produce my own. Salem's Cave said, I Googled you and after you said to ask you about how you got involved. Oh, okay. Well, Salem's Cave, I'll answer that question now that you're here online. I did ask you to ask it online. Thank you for coming on here. Basically, the only person covering the elections from most angles. Can't say it all as you don't have ANC. That's correct, Arctic, and I refuse to have EFF. I haven't tried to reach ANC, but every time I've tried to interview them in the past, they simply ignore me. They refuse to answer. They hold the reins very tight and don't allow their people to answer questions. So I can't interview the ANC because they're not interested. I will not interview the EFF because they're race hustlers. I did say I would try to interview MK, and I've reached out to them and got no response, only because they're new on the block and it's a fascinating development. Their manifesto is overwhelmingly racist, but I'm not so sure they even believe it themselves, so I'd like to talk to them. But I do cover from every angle possible. People ask me to talk to these small parties. I'm waiting for an email on that. Tulsi for VP. No. Tulsi Gabbard is a wackadoodle who has bizarre concepts. She just appears well on TV. Garrett, my passport is in processing. That's all I can know until it's been shipped. Yep. Yeah. So, hey, Sam, how's it going? All right. Now, let me get to Salem's Cave answers. So, it's a compliment, not a criticism. No, Arctic. I didn't take it as a criticism. I did not at all. I'm just explaining my coverage and how I do it. So, not being thin-skinned at all. I can be thin-skinned about other things, but not this. Yeah, I've got Bantu Holomisa on tomorrow night, and I've got Kenneth Bishwe on Wednesday night, and looking at getting Devin Hoffmeyer on this week, so from UIM. So USA Home Affairs are just as crap. No, Arctic, you have to understand that we don't have Home Affairs. We have a State Department. We don't have a Home Affairs. The State Department handles our foreign policy and our diplomacy, and they're the ones responsible for our passports. No such thing as a home agency, a home office. But they don't do it, and they haven't done it for 40 years. The State Department contracts out the production of U.S. tourist passports, so they don't even handle it. They're not even involved. I'll bet they didn't provide oversight, to be honest. So you send an application in to the State Department processing facility. They take it, they cash your check and take the money, and then they forward your passport application to a contractor. The contractors are the ones that are cocked up. And that's because the State Department doesn't spend enough money on contractors. They'd rather waste money promoting lesbian and gay lives in Burkina Faso or in Algeria than spend money to pay for more contractors to process our passports. Last year, at one stage, it was taking between 6 and 10 months for people to get passports back from the passport agency because they get sent back to them and then mailed to you from the State Department. That backlog was reduced to the standard 4 to 6 weeks a few months ago, and that's why I didn't put my stuff in a year ago. I didn't want it to be lost, but I'm still waiting. So anyway, I bet I can get MK Loudmouth in here. I'd love to, but they got to answer the messages. I don't have any contact with him. Is balkanization a real possibility for South Africa? Well, it's already there, Salem's Cave. It's already there. There's already balkanization. KZN is a Zulu enclave with minorities sprinkled around. Home Affairs, you mean 3-letter agencies. Yeah. All right, so back to Salem's Cave to answer your question. So I grew up as a young kid in the 1970s. When I say young, I'm talking about first grade was 1970. So I was in high school at the end of 1970s, graduated in 1982. I used to go to the library because I moved a lot, and I was fascinated by things I could latch onto, like international affairs, political science, history, geography. and that sort of stuff. So during this time, we had liberation movements in Africa. I read a book published by a gentleman who used to work for the CIA about the FNLA, the Front for the National Liberation of Angola, led by Holden Roberto, and how the CIA had backed Holden Roberto in 1975, and the foolishness of what happened there. I read that with fascination, and this was also a time when Soldier of Fortune was a big magazine. It would appear on the shelves. I would read Soldier of Fortune, stories about mercenaries in Africa and all these places. So I began to be interested in Africa in the mid-1970s when I was in primary school and junior high school. By the time I got to high school, I was paying very close attention to the liberation movements in Rhodesia, in Southwest Africa, in Angola, in Mozambique. And then I went to university in 1982. I joined the Army in 1983, and then in 1984, when I was overseas, began focusing more on Africa while serving in the military, learning about it on my own independently. I started to teach myself Afrikaans, and I learned German at the time, so then after I learned German, I started learning Afrikaans on my own. And then I went back to university in 1987. At university in 1987, I focused most of my history courses as a history major on Africa, Southern Africa in particular, with courses like revolutions in Africa or Southern Africa, so on and so forth. And this was an exciting time as we have just gone through the Soweto situation in 85-86. Namibia was coming to independence. The Bush War was ending and things were changing. Apartheid was coming to an end. So I studied that, and that was the focus. And I also began studying Swahili when I was there. So then I went back in the Army with the intention of becoming a regular Army officer, which isn't guaranteed for my source commissioning, which is university. ROTC, only a small number of officers get a regular Army commission offer because that's a very limited legal number of officers who serve in uniform are actually regular Army. The rest are reservists who are serving in active duty. So I wanted to be a regular Army officer, become a military intelligence officer, and then become a foreign area officer for sub-Saharan Africa, make the rank of full colonel, be the defense attaché in South Africa. That was my career goal. I set those goals in 1984. I went back into the Army, and I got out in 87, was in the Ohio National Guard for 2 years, came back in the Army in 1989 as a second lieutenant, military intelligence, rose to the rank of full colonel, became a foreign area officer for sub-Saharan Africa, and served in Tunisia, Liberia, Botswana, Malawi, Niger, Mauritania, Uganda, and Ethiopia. Rebuilt the armed forces of Liberia, rebuilt and saved the HIV program in Botswana, established HIV programs in Niger, Mauritania, and saved a program in Uganda that was flowing as well. Trained peacekeepers, hunted terrorists, rebuilt armies, and built schools, clinics all over Africa. And that's where my interest in Africa. My interest in South Africa grew because of the events around South Africa, the frontline states, and much of my history course were focused on that. But the reason I really became interested in South Africa was because of a book that I read. This will show you the impact of one book and how one book can change the life of a person. Around about 1980, I can't remember exactly when it was, I read a book by James Michener, who became my favorite fictional author. He became my favorite fictional author because of a television series, a miniseries called Centennial, which I found fascinating. It's actually not that great, but I was young. TV was much different then. And I watched this miniseries, Centennial, which was about America settling the West. And James Michener wrote it. So because he wrote that, and I was fascinated in the television series, I began looking for books of his. He had books like Hawaii and The Covenant. Well, The Covenant was the first one I grabbed a hold of. The Covenant was about South Africa. It's historical fiction, about 1,200 pages of fine print paperback, which I was able to buy for like $3, $2.99 or something like that in high school. I didn't have much money. I bought the book and I read it cover to cover. It was fascinating. He takes, well, he's passed away many years ago now, but he took historical figures, historical events, natural events, and fictional characters and weave them into a story and interrelated them to tell the story of places. Many books came after that. You had The Covenant, you had the Seekers, you had Chesapeake, Space, Poland, Texas. It goes on and on. He was a prolific writer. James Michener, my favorite fiction author ever. And so The Covenant, which was about the agreement made, the pact made by the Trek Boers at the Battle of Blood River in 1838, in which they made an agreement, a pact with God, that would build a church in his honor should he deliver them from the Zulu surrounding them and about to attack. And they did. They eventually built a church in Pietermaritzburg to honor God, the Church of the Vow. That became known as Geloftedag. And that was the inspiration for the book. And it tells the history of South Africa from before the Bantu even arrived all the way through to modern day. Anyway, and it uses a fictional family called the Saltwoods. And that's where that interest grew from. And so that became an interest in Afrikaans, became an interest in Tswana, became an interest in all things South Africa. So there you go. Does that answer your question, Salem? Okay. Salem, are you still there? Salem's Cave. So I've just answered that question. Let's see if you're still there. Hopefully you're still with us, and see if I've answered your question. I'd like to know if I answered your question. Yes, and you're very welcome. All right. So that's how it came about. But my interest in Southern Africa was confined to Southern Africa initially. However, the interest began to expand. When I began to learn Swahili, the interest spread to Eastern Africa, but it was already a little bit of interest there because I'm a historian with a focus on ethnic Germans and German history. And of course, the Germans colonized Tanganyika, and Lieutenant Colonel Paul Leto von Voorbeck led the most successful guerrilla campaign in modern history in Tanganyika during the First World War. And that fascinated me. And I read a book by Edwin Hoyt about General Leto von Voorbeck, a brilliant book by Edwin Hoyt. Wow, I wonder if Edwin Hoyt, let's see if I can find that guy. I've never looked him up. Edwin, Hoyt, American writer. Edwin Palmer Hoyt, okay. All right, he died in 2005 at the age of 81. Yep. Let's see what his books were. Yep. He died in Tokyo. He was 76. I didn't know that. Wow, okay. I'm trying to find he's got a bunch of books here. Wow. This is selected works. It don't know if it has it, but he wrote that book. Oh, there it is. Colonel von Leto Voorbeck in Germany's East Africa Empire. Yep. Guerrilla. That's the name of the book. Guerrilla. Yep. So I read that book and that was fascinating. East Africa. Learning Swahili played a role in my interest in East Africa. So it expanded from Southern Africa to East Africa. I had no interest in West Africa and North Africa, but eventually found myself stationed in Tunisia. So my interest in North Africa grew out of that. Also, when Algeria and the GI, the Armed Islamic Group in the early 1990s were fighting a conflict, I followed that conflict and the horrific situation, and then learned more about the Algerian War for independence and civil war going back in the 60s. Anyway, so then my interest in North Africa grew because I lived in North Africa, in Tunisia. And then eventually I lived in Liberia, and I began to even grow an interest in West Africa. So there you go. So interest all over Africa. So now, what are your plans, objection next 5 years? I still would like to be the, there's Courtney McBride's super chat. Thank you for that, Courtney. $2. Appreciate that, Courtney. Very kind of you. It's been slow sledding for super chats on the channel and memberships. What are plans for the next 5 years? I intend in the next 5 years to be the dictator of a small African country and hold the annual reed dance in which I'll select young, nubile, bare-breasted women to be my mates and produce copious offspring. High on my list are Lesotho and Eswatini. Courtney wants to know if I'm going to visit Utah soon. Courtney, I don't know. I'd have to take a look and see. I keep talking about coming to Utah, and it's a good excuse to come out there for genealogy and for the Utah Warriors, but I haven't done that. And I did promise to do it, so let me look and see. No, Green Phantom. I'll take a shower, man. What are you talking about? I won't get that. And they all get tested for it, by the way, first. Actually, 5 years from now, I expect to be either the Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania or a U.S. representative in the House of Representatives. U.S. Postal Service Union is having its annual food drive. Donations are down, signs of bad economy. Yep. Count me in, says Mike. Okay, cool. All right. And my goal will be to show up more than 33% of the time like Fetterman did when he was lieutenant governor. Man, it was never at work. Anyway, yeah, so how we doing? Let's see if we get more subscribers. Ooh, we're still stuck at 97. Hasn't gone up. Shame. Yep, still stuck at 97. Anyway, I think a number of people watching this program are people who watch my latest videos, so they haven't had a chance to watch it yet. It's just 84 views. Shame. Anyway, yeah. So, boy, my DA flag burning because I put flag burning in the title. Limited visibility. Ouch. 4 ads. Oh, man, it really hurt my hip moving there. Matt says Rocky Mountain Wyatt meetups. I'm in Colorado now. Oh, Colorado. Okay. Are you living in Colorado, Matt? Is that where you're at for good? Okay. I've gotten out to Denver a number of times, but not recently. Not recently. The Earth is neither flat nor round. Fetterman is way more moderate than most folks thought he would be. He's pro-Israel and pro-border security. Yeah, he's still an embarrassment. Doesn't matter. Just because someone on rare occasions agrees with reason doesn't mean we're good. Fort Collins. Okay. All right. Let me take a look at the map there real quick. Maps on Google. Maps. Let me just get a look here real quick. Fort Collins. Fort Collins, Colorado. There we go. Well, that's a good spot. Oh, that's actually, that's yeah, I thought that's where it was. That's on the way up to my favorite place, which is Wyoming. Cheyenne is not that far from there. Yep. In fact, Cheyenne, Wyoming is only 47 minutes away. 46 miles. Yep. There you go. Fort Collins. There you go. Yeah, I could do that. Cheyenne is a place I wouldn't mind living. Star Valley is another place. The economy of South Africa sucks. What will push a precarious situation here to without rule of law? Your question's awkward to read, but I'll try to translate what I think it is. I think you're trying to say that the South African economy sucks. What will push it into open conflict? Well, this election could have that impact. Yep, basically Wyoming. Yeah, exactly, Matt. Fort Collins is basically Wyoming. Yep, and you're very close to the Arapahoe Roosevelt National Forest, which is pretty cool. That's nice. That's just right behind you there. The problem with Colorado is it just keeps growing up that way. Denver keeps growing that way, and Denver is just a mess. Hester says, thanks for the stream. Have a good one. Take care, Hester. Yep. Temple Square renovation will be complete in 2026. Maybe has to wait until then. The final product will look very grand and inviting. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, maybe. But 2026 is a long way off. The chance that South Africa will break into smaller republics. Yes, Courtney, it's a very good chance of that. Very good chance of that. In fact, a lot of people are hoping for Western Cape independence, and I've said for a long time that it seems much more plausible that Zulu independence will come before Western Cape. If you do a live with Citizen Concern, probably get more subs. Well, Green Phantom, Citizen Concern actually has to answer my messages. I've written to Citizen Concern, and I've written to the 360 Experience, and neither of them have returned my messages. People don't have the courtesy to say something. Getting more subs? Well, I have more subs. They didn't exist when I started this. But you have to understand what's at work here. YouTube hides much of my content, and they keep people from finding it. That's been eased a little bit of late, but that's the fact. This is a channel. This is a program that once upon a time, oh, God bless it, my hip. Once upon a time, in just 5 months, went from 2 subscribers to 23,000 subscribers, 10 to 15,000 views per day on my content, and 2,500 hours of content viewed every single day without even trying. I made 60,000 Rand per month in advertising revenue back at that time without even trying to make money. I was just trying to bring people the news objectively and cover breaking news stories and make projections. When January 6th happened, they began coming after me. Not because of January 6th, that's just the date that I got my first warning on YouTube. And within 3 months, they had removed my channel illegitimately. And ironically, it was removed for a video that did not exist. That's right. I created a video which was within their terms and conditions, community standards, and then they changed them. Because they had given me 2 strikes, I removed 43 of my 1,500 videos at the time, which what might be considered to no longer be in accord with their standards. So I removed that video. 1 month to the day later, my channel was removed, just gone, poof, taken away, over a video that did not exist. When I appealed, they said, well, the video's on our servers. I said, well, I deleted it. It doesn't exist. Doesn't matter. So then 6 months I waited and asked for them to give my channel back. And they said, no, it's too late. Your channel's gone. You waited too long. So I waited 2 years. And the third attempt, I said, I, in good faith, met the terms, conditions, and community standards of your site. You changed them. And I, in good faith, removed videos that might run afoul. You maliciously and unjustly deleted my channel or video that I had removed 2 years ago. I respectfully request that you reinstate it. And much to my chagrin, they reinstated. That was after Susan Wojo, the scumbag, hateful shrew that ran YouTube, left. And she was no longer at the beck and call. And YouTube stopped doing the bidding of the U.S. government. But they restrained conservatives in many other ways. So I get you. I get you about about Green Phantom about going and getting Concerned Citizen. But Concerned Citizen seems to have zero interest in having a conversation with me. And that is Concerned Citizen's prerogative. Concerned Citizen did go on Morning Shot. Yay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put things back in perspective. When my channel was censored, I was within 100 subscribers of overtaking Morning Shot's channel. 100 subscribers. I was 100 behind them. They had started with 4,400 subscribers when I had 2. And they kept growing. And it took me a while, but within 5 or 6 months, I had almost caught them. And by the time that my channel was taken away, I've never caught it with Morning Shot. Now, I'm not in any competition with Morning Shot. I'm just showing you what happened. Now, the reason I grew with Morning Shot is because at the time, my content wasn't hidden. But now it's hidden. Yep. Anyway, so happy to talk to Concerned Citizen. Happy to talk to the 360 Experience. But they have risen because they are the flavor of the week, because they have the right skin pigmentation, and they are saying what needs to be said. I've been saying what needs to be said for years. It's just hidden. I haven't gone. Rumble sucks. In fact, I haven't been in Rumble so long. Let me take a look. Rumble's a terrible website. Their live streaming sucks. Sign in. I haven't been there so long. So. Let me see if I can even sign in. Okay, I'm signed in. Count overview. Let's look and see. Oh, I have $4.24. That's money that Hendo gave me a long time ago. So let me go to my channels. So I have 651 subscribers on Chris Wyatt Africa, and 21 Liberty Assault, Rugby Senate 34, and Paladin 17. Yep. So let me go to Chris Wyatt Africa. And the last video I put on there was 3 months ago. Yep. 3 months ago. Because nobody watches it. I had 212 views on it. Rumble sucks. It just sucks. It looks better than it used to. What's this? I have no idea what Kurtz is saying there. Is that the OCHA? That's the United Nations group, isn't it? Oh, Arctic, I told you Florida sucks, man. Florida humidity sucks. Yeah, Alex Hogue from Business News and Hermanus, no response. I'm not surprised, Garrett. He has no interest in... See, the problem was this, and I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this up front. You can dispute it. Tell me if you disagree. The problem with people in South Africa engaging with me who are in this business is their fear. I'm a different voice. I don't have a bias in favor of South Africans, anything. I have no interest there. I just cover it objectively and fairly. And I have a different accent. And some people are jealous of that. Some people are fearful that I'll take away from them. I'm not looking to take away from anybody. I've promoted many channels and many people in here. And I've done many collaborations. We've done collaborations with Vine and Dutoy, collaborations with Byron Shepard, collaborations with Rob Hutchison, collaborations with the K-Nako program. And I promote all of those people's channels, all of their content. But some people just have a fear that it might take the shine off of them. It's a shame. Is voting third party an alternate way of voting for Trump? Only if you're a Democrat, Courtney. Why does Rumble suck? At least there's no censorship. Because as a content creator, it's a terrible website. It's organized in a very poor fashion. Uploading is cumbersome. Their live has a 45-second delay, which makes it impossible to have a conversation with people. And it's just not a place where people go. And now they fixed it, but for 2 years, Rumble in South Africa, the way that they aggregated the data from multiple places, you couldn't even watch it. So what's the other one I used to be on? I can't remember right now. What's the other channel? Gosh bless, I have to go to my videos and look and see because I can't even think of it. I haven't gone there in so many months. That one, where's it at? Come on, I go to my link tree. That'll get me there. Open a new tab. I go to my link tree. Say link tree. All things Africa, Wyatt, TikTok, YouTube. Where the hell's it at? Odyssey. That's the one. Odyssey. Go to my Odyssey link. I haven't been to Odyssey in ages. I have 551 followers on Odyssey. That's another site. I haven't put anything on there in 6 months. 6 months. 14 views on a video. 2 views. 189. What a joke. What an absolute joke Odyssey is. Yep. So I'm in Odyssey now. I'm in Odyssey forever. And their cryptocurrency, which was bullshit. Yeah. All these sites are just lame and disappointing. So disappointing. I've got 1,672 videos on Odyssey and 551 subscribers. Yep. No, it's not easy to use, Brian. That's right. That's the problem with also the problem with Rumble is that Rumble is simply Dan Bongino's vanity project. It's all about making Dan Bongino, Greedy Gino, wealthy. He doesn't care about conservatives. Yep. And the only people that get any traction on Rumble are people who are already known. Even the podcast that Lotus Eaters doesn't do particularly well on Rumble. It's only Dinesh D'Souza and Dan Bongino and people like that. I meant citizen concern. Did I say it wrong, Salem? Yeah. Hey, Leovan, how's it going? Most people are dumb and ignorant. That's why South Africa, Europe, and America are falling apart. Possibly. Rumble is worse than inputting one's itinerary into defense travel service. Defense travel system. It may be. It may be. I even have Subscribestar. But honestly, I did Neil DeBeer on Rumble 5 months ago. I have 143 views on that. So let me go over here and do Neil DeBeer from 5 months ago and see how many views I got on YouTube. Neil DeBeer from 5 months ago. Okay. That one had 1,300 views. 1,300 views. And 141 on Rumble. 143 versus 1,300. 1/10 as many views. Yep. Sites that got banned on YouTube. What are sites that got banned on YouTube? Levin says Rumble wasn't bad in South Africa. Odyssey was terrible. Yeah, Odyssey was the one that really had that problem. They were using multiple servers all over the place. In fact, Jeremy Nell interviewed the guy who was behind Odyssey. Yeah, De Beer diamond mines are wealthy. Ouch. Damn it, my hip. Arctic no longer. Unfortunately, he's gone blind. Who has gone blind? What? Who has gone blind? Ken, who went blind? At least after the election, the parliamentary session will be somewhat at least watching. Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, Salem, it's hard to follow your text. It's a little confusing. So let me just check on something here very quickly. Who went blind, man? Tell me who went blind.
Exact words were,
so who went blind? Oh, Scott Boston went blind? I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. Yep. Wow. That's tragic. That's unfortunate. He's not a nice person. He's an evil person, but no one deserves that. That's really sad. What did Arctic say that raised that? Oh, okay, in his own private server, yeah. Yeah. That is horrible. That is horrible. Yeah, no, I don't wish that on anybody. That's unfortunate. That's really shameful. But his conduct was atrocious, and his abuse of me and his lies and his slander and his sycophants really are nasty people, really nasty people. But that's unfortunate. That would explain why he's not on any of the videos on his channel. That's really bizarre. But, you know, you don't have to have vision to do a broadcast. Someone could help him with that. He just is the voice. What are you talking about? Your passport there? Anyway, that's just, well, that's unfortunate. Sorry to hear that. Yeah. He did talk about macular degeneration a couple years ago, and that if he didn't stop, he was going to lose his sight. But with macular degeneration, you're going to lose your sight. Anyway, maybe he just... Green Phantom says, no one what? Oh, do I think Botswana is a good country to live in? It was until Mokwetsi Eric Masisi became president. If you have resources, it's a great country to live in. If you're trying to be an entrepreneur, it's okay. If you are moving there to just, you know, get away from something else, it's not necessarily great. Two of my viewers moved there from Port Elizabeth 4 years ago on my recommendation. She's in the nursing field, and he's in, I think, IT or something like that. And they've enjoyed their time there, but it's a lot safer than living in Port Elizabeth. Yeah, it's a great place to visit, a decent place to live, but it's got a lot of corruption problems since Masisi became president. They had him before that. It's not entirely his fault, but the corruption is just ramped up to almost ANC level now. It's really shocking. Happy to see you doing the news today. It's not here. It's hot in Minnesota. Okay, Shawnee. Yeah, Arctic says, great place to live, but tough business environment. Yeah, not because of the government or difficulty running business, but because it's such a small market. And it's already occupied by big players. I mean, Standard Bank is there. Game is there. You take a pick. Anybody is there. And then if you want to get in mining, good luck with that. Yeah, it's not like every other African country, Kurtz. It's different. I've lived in Botswana. It's different. And I've been back there since I lived there. It is different than most places. But when you allow the likes of Eric Masisi to take over, you have problems. I need to fly the plane then. What plane is that, Hank? What are you talking about? Yeah, anyway. Yeah, I had not been in my site. This is a picture of me in... well, I look at this picture of me from Wyoming 4 years ago, and I don't look that much different other than there's a little less dark in my beard. Check this out. Let me see if I can get this on your screen. If you can see, it's a little small on the screen, but look at that. That's from 4 years ago. In 2020, that's me. Wow, I don't look... I thought I was getting a bit old looking, but I don't look that much different. That's 4 years ago. And that's today. 4 years ago, today. Not a lot of difference. Not bad. Not bad, man. I'm feeling pretty good about that. Sit that back down to 100% size. Yeah. Wow. You are anti-union, but you're at least supportive of Solidarity Trade Union South Africa. Yeah, I'm not supportive, but I have no issues with Solidarity in South Africa because it's not simply a trade union, and it's also a trade union that tries to right wrongs and isn't corrupt. Trade unions are corrupt. Unions are corrupt. They are, and that's been my experience. Yep. CIA trucks are working well for you. Little Miss Know-It-All says, Colonel, how old are you? 29. Hey, Paulie's here. Paulie, any word on George? Anything to share with us? Anything to tell us? Update. You're in the fire community, rescue community. You can tell us anything about that. Updates. We know 17 have been recovered now who've passed away. And then that guy was pulled out yesterday morning, which is incredible after so long. 29. No, I used to tell my mother all the time, every year she called me and said, how old are you this year? And I said, 29. She said, you're not 29. You're not 29. I said, yes, I am. She said, I said, age is a number. I'm 29. She said, no, you're not 29. I said, listen, think about it. If I'm 29, that means you're not 50 yet. She goes, I like your math. 62. Ooh, shame on you, Green Phantom. I'm not even close to that. 19 from the George incident. Is that what it's up to now? Yeah, well, most of those 35, I don't imagine we're going to save. That's unfortunate. Yeah, I'm sure there's lots to tell, Paulie. But yeah, his mouth is shut. Okay, it's not going to tell us. I am not 60 years old, Courtney. You are incorrect. I am not 60 years old. You stop telling people that's fake news. That's a lie. I'm not 60. Simply not true. I'm in my 50s. Not even true. And y'all keep it up. I'm going to shave the beard and get my hair in a high and tight, and then you're going to see me looking a lot younger. Zuma math. No, you guys, your maths are really... Was that the Zuma math you put up there, Arctic? 29 times 3 minus 10 plus 7 minus 45. Shave it off. Says Paulie likes that idea. I can't shave it off until the next trip to South Africa. Then I can shave it off. If I shave it off before my next trip to South Africa, nobody's going to recognize me. I'll walk around incognito. Then I'll become a target instead of being a celebrity. Chris Marie gets it correct. Yes, I was listening to Falco. Yes, I was. I was listening to Falco. Yep. Er war ein Punker und er lebte in der großen Stadt. Es war Wien, war Vienna, wo alles tat. Hatte Schulden, denn trank, doch ihn liebte alle Frauen und jeder rief, come on, rock me Amadeus. War ein Superstar, war so populär, war so exaltiert, because hatte Flair, war ein Virtuoso, war ein Rock-Idol. Und alles rief, come on, rock me Amadeus. Amadeus, 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 Amadeus. Yeah, there's one channel on Rumble where I get full uncensored coverage. I don't know what he does to have 2 million subscribers. What's the name of it, Ken? What's the name of the channel? And I can tell you if he's somebody that's already known. I don't know anyone on Rumble who's gained subscribers. Just go to Rumble Home and see what it puts up on my channel. Russell Brand, Steven Crowder, the Osbournes, all known people, and that's what they put up there. Those are my picks. Russell Brand, Roseanne Barr, Steven Crowder, and the Osbournes. And I'm not interested in any of those. That's what it puts up for me. Barstool Gambling. Now, they made it big on their own, but before Rumble. These are all people who made it big before Rumble. Yep. Who else? Oh, come on, Ken. Russell Brand was a famous British comedian. He's all over British media. That's why he has 2 million subscribers on here. That's what I'm talking about. No one makes it on Rumble. People who've made it go there and retain and grow their audience. Salty Cracker made it on YouTube. He's on Rumble. Let me see if I can find Salty Cracker's current subscriber base. And they love him, so they give him an advantage, and they promote him. They don't promote me or anybody else. They don't give a shit about us. He has 308,000 followers on Rumble. But what does he have on YouTube? He had 700,000 last time I looked. Let me see. Salty Cracker. Salty Cracker. Salty Cracker. He has 844,000 subscribers on YouTube, and he has 308,000 on Rumble. See? Yeah, Barstool, a huge flesh, but they made it in podcasting before Rumble existed. Again, people before Rumble existed. Mike's grandson is seeing Kung Fu fighting all afternoon. That's funny. Chris needs to braid his beard with beads like Johnny Depp in the Pirates of the Caribbean. Well, I have the braids. I bought them, but I've never done it. It's such a pain to do it. On YouTube, Russell has 7 million. Yeah, and he has 2 million on Rumble. You see the difference there? The tubes. Huh. Redacted. Well, Redacted existed before on YouTube. Matthew Dixon actually pipes in here. I sound like Salty Cracker. No, I sound salty, but not Salty Cracker. No, there's a big difference there. He made a video on YouTube about Afro Man and got 228,000 views.
His laptop fixed, but Hunter got hot.
Okay, 6. He did, hang on a second. 6 seconds. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He can play Afro Man, but if I do it, I get a copyright strike. But Salty Cracker is playing the video. 15 seconds about Hunter. If I did that, it'd be all over. Unbelievable. So he did 20 seconds of Afro Man and gets away with it. How is that even possible? I mean, I get copyright claims for public domain music, which is declared to be in the public domain. Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. Yep. So, I don't know what to say, man. Just kind of sucks. Anyway, Salty Cracker. Paul Leto von Forbeck. Yeah, the Hope for SA, somebody posted that in one of my videos and said that's a place to go. Well, I think when you come to South, you must bring your beard beads with you, and we'll get the ladies to braid your hair. Okay, well, that's an idea, Levin. Maybe I'll do that. Green Phantom said, I thought you said you finished school in 82, so youngest you're 59, about to be 60, unless you finished school before you're 18. I did finish school before I was 18, Green Phantom. I was 17 years of age when I graduated high school. I've also said that many times. Why the obsession with my age? Somebody want my digits? My phone number is +1 333 999 777 444 Smile. Well, look, that shell thing is still taking off again, man. It's 363 last hour, and we're 40 minutes in this hour. It's got 222. Currently at 14,700 views. Wow, it's still going. Keep going, boys. Let me refresh and make sure that's actually where it's at, because I didn't refresh that page before. No, that's where it's at. Wow, it's second takeoff here. Thank you for that. You know what? Pigmentation and content gets a strikeout. Yep. Off with the beards. Ooh, Little Miss Know-It-All. You sending your digits? It's time to lose the beard, says Val. Oh, my goodness. Oh, okay. Poll time. It's time for a poll. Here we go. It's time for a poll. Okay. Okay. All right. All right, here you go, folks. Here's your chance to vote in a poll. There you go. I put a poll up. Keep or shave the beard. My goodness. There it is. The poll's up. The poll is up. Ken doesn't understand the problem. What problem, Ken? What are we talking about? What's the problem? Oh, the age? I don't care about my age. Courtney McBride gives $2 for the shaving beard. I'll tell you what. Maybe we'll do a live stream fundraiser and super chats. And if I get more than $500 in super chats or $1,000 in super chats, I'll do what the winning dollar amount says. How do you like that? We'll make a play for $1,000 in super chats, and the winning bit. So if it's $501, but we have to reach 1,000. It's $501 to shave the beard. I'll shave it off. Anyway, so that's funny. That's funny. So you guys are killing me here. Yep. Garrett finished high school at 17. Yep. Lieutenant at 19. Courtney, don't fall for this game. We paid for that beard over. You've never paid to shave it off. Nice try. Nice try, Arctic. You can go incognito without the beard. That's true, Mike. I can. Courtney gave $2. My software now is giving me, it's annoying. It won't advance here. It's got the, I have to, this is annoying. Mike van Leuven, welcome to you. There's a very Dutch name, van Leuven. I did it. You were drinking that Coke and beer crap again. You didn't pay to get rid of the beard. Hey, just because you gave an unsolicited super chat for the beard removal, that doesn't mean that's not part of a poll. I set the bar too low. Okay, 5,000. How's that? Numbers looking good on this poll. Well, it's this big market change. It's usually 3 out of 4 in favor of keeping the beard. Wow. Drinking Coke and beer. Oh, that reminds me. I haven't had a schuss beer in ages, man. I'm sure that hearing Chris speak live before an audience is fun and engaging. I'm sure he walks up and down the aisle like a Lutheran minister. Well, I think you stole that from my video, and that's what I tell people. I use that. I did that when I did the presentation at the Army War College for Great Decisions, when I talked about South Africa's democracy at risk, and I said that, pardon me for walking up and down the aisles, I like to engage with my audience. I'm kind of like a Lutheran minister. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, going up. What's going up? What's going up? How many people voted? 37 votes. Wow, we got 53 here. That's a pretty good participation rate. It's pretty good. I'm sure having it Chris speak. Okay, what else? All right, so where are we at? Well, we're over an hour and a half here. I know it's Sunday, but so how much intersections have you had with South African mercenaries? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm sure I've met South African mercenaries and been aware of it, but no interaction with them. Not on the battlefield and not professionally. Nope. Nope. Not to my knowledge. Interesting question. I've never been asked that question before. Never been asked that question before. Yeah, I don't get mercenaries. Why would I want to put on a uniform, go somewhere, and be paid to execute military operations? I mean, by a foreign power or a foreign entity. It's just the only reason I would put a uniform on is defend my flag and my nation, which I did for 37 years. So I don't get why people do that for foreign flags. It's a little confusing to me. It's beyond my comprehension. But it does exist. People do it, but you won't find me doing it. You won't find me going to China to train Chinese pilots or intelligence operators. Now, I would work as a contractor as long as it didn't violate U.S. law to train intelligence professionals in other countries. Absolutely. Who are friends, partners, and allies. Yeah. I've never worked with Blackwater. Never seen them, never heard of them other than people whining about them all the time. Yep. Zulu Scouts. Yeah, a lot of the Zulu Scouts did become mercenaries afterwards. In fact, just said it was Ron Reed Daly went to the Transkei, did he not? And before Bantu Holomisa rose to power there in the Transkei, Ron Reed Daly was there for, I think, 6 years for the Transkei Defense Force. Arctic says, you're okay with volunteering to go to war for less money than you make at Walmart. I don't know what planet you're on, Arctic, but I didn't make less money than you could make in Walmart. unless I'm a regional vice president, then maybe I make more money at Walmart. But no, the U.S. military is well compensated. Well compensated. Our volunteer force receives a very good salary. It's a myth that they're not well paid. And free medical care, free housing. If you don't get free housing, you get a stipend for that. Yeah, it's a lot of benefits. Free education in many cases, or mostly free education. A service is dedicated to educating you in other fashions throughout your life. Yeah, it's a pretty good deal, good stint, and that's why a lot of people do make a career of it, because they can do it and have a sufficient income. Now, I did forego a lot of money. I could have made a lot of money on Wall Street. I could have made a lot of money in Silicon Valley, 95, 96 time frame. I had a chance to go to Silicon Valley, and I passed up on it to stay in the Army. And then in 2015 to 2019, I could have gone to Wall Street. There was an opportunity waiting there for me at Union Bank of Switzerland, and I passed up on it repeatedly. And then in retirement, I wasn't interested. So, yeah, my life has not been about trying to amass wealth. It's been about trying to make the world a better place and enjoy it as much as possible in my brief time on this existence. Or in this existence. But yeah, I would love to have a vast amount of money. That'd be great. I could just have my own plane, go where I want, do what Trump does, go where I want anytime. Fire up the plane, let's go. We're going to Aruba. Although I wouldn't go to Aruba. I'd more likely go to the Faroe Islands. That would be where I'd like to go. Also, if I was that kind of wealthy, I wouldn't have this hip problem. I would get proper medical care from a private physician, and that problem would be resolved. Pickering Detectives became a private union-busting mercenary group that outnumbered the American military and later devolved into a crappy security company. There are still South African mercenaries about, and they're in their 60s. Was paid by the U.S. military to earn a bachelor's degree from the University of Utah. Was later able to buy a home and live a very solid middle class. Exactly. It's a job choice, not a calling. Well, that may be for many people, but it was a calling for me. That's why I did it, and it's why I passed up such great opportunities to auction off the beard. Yeah, Garrett's met many mercenaries. They don't flaunt it. Yep. All right, let's see. So the poll is still going. 43 votes. We got 58 people here. Yeah, so yes, the military pays well. Most other military... Yeah, that's true. That is true. Most other militaries are not so well paid. But... You know, I was talking about my experience because you said I would rather get paid peanuts and make less money than I did at Walmart. So I was addressing that. But yeah, you're right. Most people aren't paid very well in most militaries. But most militaries around the world remain conscription-based, not voluntary. Voluntary military is professional and they are paid reasonably well. Proud American Patriot military service is an outward expression of love for the nation. Yeah, Courtney, I would agree. And so was mine. That's why I did it for as long as I did it and why it was so important to me. Yep. James says I'm 55. I wish I was 55. That's when I retired from the Army. I was 55. Yep, I was 55. I can't believe that I will be entering my 6th decade of existence before too long. before too long. I don't feel that way. I mean, other than some outward gray, maybe 10 or 15 pounds more than I should weigh. I'm not obese, but I'm not svelte, like sprockets, with my ribs exposed. They're no longer exposed. Now they look normal, and I'm not used to looking normal. I'm used to being thin, super thin. Anyway, so yeah. Courtney can collect his pension at 55. Well, that's when I collected mine, but but my pension will be significantly different than Courtney's. I spent 37 years collecting it, or building it for it. So, Hendo says the umpteenth beard poll. I haven't done a beard poll in months. Come on, Hendo. Come on. I haven't done it in months. You're like 3 times my age, says Green Phantom. So you're what, 22? How close were you ever to leaving the military due to age and not promoting? Remember, you said that if you don't get a promotion by a certain age, you have to leave. No, it's not an age. It's not an age. It is age, but it's not age. It's years of service. I was never close. I always got promoted within the window. I had to get promoted so I can avoid that. So, for example, you can't be a second lieutenant with more than 6 years of service. I think it is. As a lieutenant, 4 years, something like that, as a lieutenant. You have to make major by your, so you can only be a captain up until like 12 or 14 years, 14, maybe 15 years, then you have to get out. Major, you normally can't get to retirement. You have to make lieutenant colonel by 18, or before 18. There are exceptions. So I don't know the exact rules, and currently now they're making the military so soft, but no, I made first lieutenant, captain, major, lieutenant colonel, and colonel, all within the windows I needed to. But it is very difficult. So I've talked about this before. So when I came on active duty, there were 8,900 second lieutenants commissioned in ROTC that year. That's through the university system around the country. 8,900 second lieutenants for the Army alone. Then there were about 1,000 lieutenants commissioned through West Point, the military academy, and then about another 800 or 1,000 commissioned through officer candidate schools. So that's 8,000, 9,000. That's almost 11,000 lieutenants. And then we had some direct commissions, dentists, veterinarians, lawyers, and doctors who never served, but they are given a commission and they get a short course on how to wear the uniform and what the rank structure is and stuff like that. So about 12,000 lieutenants. Now, of those 12,000 lieutenants, 4,200 of them came from ROTC on active duty, plus 1,000 from West Point. That's 5,200, and another 800 from Officer Candidate School is 6,000 officers. And then I don't count the medical, veterinary, and stuff because they compete differently for promotion. But those 6,000 officers all compete together. From the time that I was a second lieutenant in 1989, there were 6,000 of us that went in the Army that year. Now, that was the last full year because the wall collapsed. After that, they quickly reduced the number of officers coming in, and they went too far down. But we had 6,000 second lieutenants enter the Army in 1989 during that fiscal year. By the time that I went from second lieutenant to first lieutenant to captain to major to lieutenant colonel to colonel, that 6,000 was reduced to 158 officers. Actually, in the end, 176. 176. 6,000 to 176. So let's do the math off that number, okay? And I'll tell you what the percentage is. It's very low. 176 divided by 6,000 equals 2.9%. So 2.9% of my peers achieved the rank of full colonel. 2.9%. So 3%. 3%. So for every 100 officers, you had a 3% chance of making colonel when you became a lieutenant. So if you wonder whether making colonel is an achievement or not, or whether it's easy to do, 3%. Now, how do you like them odds? I passed up on Silicon Valley where I could have made tens of millions of dollars, and that's not a boast. That's a statement of fact. Smart people made that kind of money. Idiots lost it all, but I'm not an idiot. I still have money from when I was a private. And then I passed up the big bucks in Manhattan. And I'm glad it did. New York's a shitty place to live now. On a chance of 3%. Now, when I came here, I was already a colonel, so that's not a fair comparison there, but certainly it was with Silicon Valley. I wasn't close to general, Paulie, because there is no general officer position in my career field. Each service branch has a specific number of general officers. There are no general officers for Africa. None. The only general officer positions in the Foreign Area Officer Corps are in China and in Russia. That's it. That's it. We have, I think, China, Russia, Turkey. There's one more. But the one in Turkey is an Air Force position, so it's not Army. The ones in China and Russia are Army positions, and they're 1 stars, and I think there's a 2-star. That's it. Yep, that's it. So you have to be a specialist for Asia or for Russia in order to have a chance to make general, and then there's only 1 position or 2 positions. So there are none for Africa. None. Although there is a guy who did get promoted to general officer, brigadier general, who is an Africa specialist, but he was promoted not based on being an Africa specialist, but based on the fact that he was well liked. It's very political. And so he was elevated to be in charge with something else that's related to, but not a foreign area officer job. Yep. Many simply a career to move to high-paying lobbying, consulting positions. Yeah, no, if I was interested in consulting, lobby, or the defense industry, I could have gone there. I could be making 6 figures multiple times over working for defense contractors right now. I'm not doing that. I pick and choose what I do, and I spend my time with you all, which is wholly unnecessary, but I feel that's a bit of a calling right now. Yes, a colonel in the Army is a captain in the Navy. That's correct. Yep, Africa has enough generals. Yeah, no, you do. It's a fact. The poll, I'm going to close the poll now. We got 48 votes, and it's 56 to keep the beard. So, there you go. The beard stays for now. It is coming off, though. It is coming off. So, let me see. What do I want to do? I think it's about 400 U.S. Army, too. What's this? Come on. Goo Goo Dolls. I don't want Goo Goo Dolls. What the hell's going on here? I want Google. Here we go. Total number. U.S. Army generals. Total number of U.S. Army generals. Okay. Well, it's not even. We have 218 generals in the entire U.S. Army. 218 out of 550,000 soldiers. 149 for the Navy. 170 for the Air Force, 62 for the Marines, and 21 for Space Force. Wow. So the United States has a total of generals. Let me just do the math on that real quick. Okay, 218 plus 149 plus 170 plus 62 plus 21. 620 officers for 1.4 million troops. 620 generals. Yes, that does include National Guard generals. Yep. I believe. Yep. Oh no, silly poll didn't work. Hey, little Miss Know-It-All. Silly rabbit. Tricks are for kids. MI complex loss, hour gain. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, Ken says we have 5,000. No, I think you have about 400 in the South African military. Or U.S. I know South African National Defense Force. I'll do that. SANDF generals. Defense Web. Let's see what they've got to say. They're pretty good reporting here, Defense Web. I've been published on Defense Web before. Not recently. Yeah. The sharp end of the National Defense Force is its combat services. Counts just 97 generals out of more than 400 in the SANDF. Wow. So there's 400 generals in SANDF. That's more than the U.S. Army has. And 2/3 of the entire U.S. military. You have 58,000 soldiers in the SANDF. We have 1.4 million on active duty, plus another 600,000 in the reserve component, and we have 652. When you visit South Africa, do you go to the dentist? Actually, I have gone to, there's Justin AVDW. Did you send me an email? I looked up the party you're talking about. I've gone to South Africa for dental care. When I was stationed in Ethiopia a few years ago, I was at the Italian Armed Forces Day celebration in my dress blues, and I had some bruschetta, and I bit on it and fractured my molar on this side of my mouth. Fractured it. Just crushed it. Or was it this side? It was this side. Yeah, I broke a molar on that side. I just opened up, and so part of the filling came out. Chunks of the tooth came out. I was like, oh my God. So the attaché's driver took me to a dentist that the embassy called for emergency filling. They put emergency filling in there, and then they put me in for approval for a medevac to either Europe or my choice is South Africa. I didn't want to go to Europe, so I went to South Africa, and I went to Brooklyn in Pretoria, at a dentist where I was referred, and that dentist, I had been told that I would have to have a root canal and the tooth would have to be replaced. No, it was this side. It wasn't this side. It was this side. The tooth would have to be replaced because of the fracture was just, there's no way to save it. That dentist said, no, I can save your tooth. Just need you here for a few days. And I had authorization to be there for a couple weeks. So I only stayed for a little over a week, though. I got it done, and I came back and saw him. And then he said, I can keep you here for another week if you want. I said, no, I need to get back. So Brooklyn, I saw a dentist, and he saved my tooth. And since then, I've had a crown put on it, but he saved my tooth. Yep. So yes, I have gone to South Africa for dental care, like other people throughout Africa. But no, I don't go for dental care in South Africa, although I probably should. It's a lot cheaper than here. In fact, you know what? I think I'll do that. I'll go to that dental office next time and try to get a cleaning. It's probably a lot cheaper than here. Host a wilderness survival show with one contestant from each political party. That would be funny, Arctic, yeah. Hey, Justin, how's it going? All right, so there you go, folks. Wow, we're coming up in 2 hours. I wasn't planning on spending 2 hours doing this. That's a long time. So, with that in mind, what was this story from? This story was from 2021. That's how long ago that was. Wow. Let me reload this and see if anybody else is watching my content since then. Oh, it's up to 80. That can't be right. Oh, we're 2 away from that magical 15,100. Why are so many pigeons on the statue of Pretoria? Because it's easy to land on that pit, and there's not enough human activity around it. Yeah, medical stuff in South Africa is much cheaper in the USA. That is correct. You are correct. Absolutely 100% correct. Hey, Dylan, good evening to you. Yep. So there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a fantastic Sunday, but it is 2 p.m. here on the East Coast, 8 p.m. in South Africa. I'm going to wrap up here and take a break. By the way, I had surgery this week. I haven't really been talking about it. I had minor surgery, armpit, just right here in this muscle right here. Nothing serious, but I need to take a look at it. So you got a brilliant dentist in Somerset West. Okay, well, maybe I'll do it there. It's the only place where the locals don't hunt the pigeons. Paul Kruger statue. That's probably true. Thanks, everybody. Hey, Gus. All right, that's it. You guys have a good one. Be sure to check out my content. Thanks a lot. We've kept an audience over 60 since about 20 minutes in the program. That's pretty impressive. Thank you all so much. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for the likes. And you all have a good day. And don't forget, tomorrow I have General Bantu Holomisa on the program. And then on Wednesday we have Reverend Kenneth Mishwe from ACDP. And we're waiting to get word back from Devin Hofmeyer when he's going to be on the channel. And also for John Steenhuisen potentially. And that would be great if we can pull that off. So look forward to that. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening. I'm kind of hungry. I need to take a break. Cheers. Bye-bye.